Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a Paragon guide. I am Sylphin. In this video we are taking a look at how to best manage this transition to Monolith. The game is basically completely changing. So what are some things that we can do, some approaches we can take, some homework we can think of that will help us to make the transition so that we aren't really kind of depressed and just really struggle with conquering the whole new game really that's about to hit. So less than a week, game is completely changing. Here are some ways that I think will really help ease that transition to Monolith. So, ladies and gentlemen, the very first thing is definitely going to be before you play, before you even change your decks, before you even look at the decks, you need to read up. There is quite a lot of material out there already on Monolith and the changes that are happening. There is something released even today that we might talk about. Read up, read the changes, and think about the implications. Think about what is exactly changing and how that impacts your gameplay. Read up and do a little bit of your homework. Now, this next category of things encompasses a whole bunch. It's all under understanding the key implications of the changes that I foresee anyway. Okay, this is what I foresee. I mean, I could completely be off my rocker about a whole bunch of these, but these are kind of the implications that I see, and you really need to understand this. You really need to kind of take this to heart and understand and appreciate what exactly it means. So the very first one is there's no travel mode. So naturally, ranged heroes are going to have an easier time staying away from melee heroes and other ranged heroes, so they will be able to naturally build and deal more damage. They will have the ability to keep that distance because there isn't travel mode, right? So they're going to be able to naturally build and therefore deal more damage. Okay, very key. That is what I foresee anyways. The next one is, oh my god, wards. Wards, wards, wards. Wards, wards, wards. The jungle is inherently different. The lanes are inherently different. There is no way for you to see from the lane into the jungle. There are these the fog walls, okay? You aren't going to be able to see into the jungle. There's a few more access points, what it looks like anyways, into the lanes from the jungles. So you are going to need wards. Absolutely, you're going to need wards. They are changing in functionality. They now have the same line of sight as any other hero, but they're still going to be incredibly effective. You will need wards. If you don't run wards now, do it. We've been saying it for forever. If you don't have a ward, you are wrong. The next one is movement cards and abilities will be much more effective and deadly at this point. Because of no travel mode, melee heroes are going to either need to be A, sneaky and sneak up on people, right, in order to deal that damage, or they're going to have to use a mobility, a movement ability or card in order to close that gap. Naturally, these cards and abilities are going to be much more effective and deadly. They're going to be so much more effective and deadly. The next one here is fighters, and especially tanks, I foresee might be keeping this health armor meta. Why is that? Well, if travel mode is no longer a thing, and range heroes are going to be naturally able to keep their distance because of that, well, fighters, especially tanks, might be keeping this health armor meta. They might need that health and armor to absorb that damage until they can close that gap and start doing their thing. So I foresee that maybe fighters and especially tanks are going to be keeping this health armor meta. The next one here is roles are going to be much more important. They are designing the map. They are designing the buffs. They are designing the gameplay style. Like to do that, they want roles to be much more effective. So they are going to be more important. You're going to have to understand and fulfill your role much more than you are going to, much more than you are now. If you aren't fulfilling your role as a jungler, especially with that new jungle, oh boy, your team's going to suffer. It's going to be such a big part of the game from now on. This next one here is going to be, they have the meta and strategy of this map more particular. Epic is making the map and the meta much more particular. They don't want you to do whatever the heck you want. You're going to have to start fulfilling specific roles and specific duties during the match. So no longer can you just, do a Countess Sparrow in the red lane, or now what's going to be the quote safe lane, or whatever they're calling it. I'm waiting for all that terminology to kind of get settled down. You're not going to be able to do whatever you want. You're going to have a particular team composition in order to have a successful game. You can't go out there with crazy comps, nor will you be able to just do whatever you want with whatever hero. You're going to have to do more strategies that are meta specific. Okay? You can't just do whatever you want. Now, those are the key implications that I foresee here that are going to happen. That's what I think. I could be wrong. I could be totally, off my rocker. And this obviously might not be completely comprehensive, but I think those are going to be the main implications of Monolith. Now, I foresee that one of the best things that you're going to do, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to make videos doing this myself about a few things here that I've planned for Monolith once it hits. And that is going to be go solo versus AI. Go solo versus AI and dink around. Maybe not totally dink around, but certainly do the following. Go down each lane and study the terrain for useful features. The lanes are going to be much different. They're going to be crazy different. Okay, you are going to need to understand how these lanes work. Where are their access points for ganks, etc., etc. Get a feel for the travel time along and between lanes. You're going to need to understand how long does it travel, because it's completely different. There's a map running through the middle of the map that gives you bonus movement speed, but you need to figure that out. Get a feel for the travel time along the whole lane and also between the lanes. As I mentioned earlier, know where possible gank opportunities lie, both for and against you. Don't just know the gank opportunities against you and be unable to gank yourself. Go around, just run through the jungle, get a feel for where you would go into gank and where you need to protect yourself from said gank. Lane against various bots. So do multiple games and do multiple lanes and get a feel for how fast or slow you can push a lane and or respond to a lane. Lanes are going to be completely different here, completely different meta that we're going to be shifting into. 2v1, a 1v1, and then another 1v2. It's going to be completely different. Get a feel for how fast you can push a lane, how slow you can push a lane, how fast you can maybe rotate to respond to a lane, how fast it is to go get a buff and then come back to a lane, all of that stuff so that you can be an effective laner, basically. Really, that's what it comes down to here. Now, go through the jungle and do the same, especially for the new buff camps. They're going to all be in different spots, obviously, completely different map, but there are some different buffs. Get them, try them out. What exactly do they do? What does it empower you to be able to do that you otherwise couldn't? Try to get a sense of that new jungle, go around and explore that jungle. This next one is try out your main / most comfortable hero and get a feel for the fundamental changes. You're probably more familiar with your main hero. You're probably more familiar with one hero than any other, or a few perhaps. So go into a game with that hero and compare and contrast how different is the gameplay with, you know, now in Monolith versus before, and get a feel for that fundamental changes. I can't play Kalari like we are right now as a tank, which, by the way, this game absolutely rocked. It was absolutely fantastic. I can't do that anymore. I can't play. I can't. Anything that is different in Monolith. Make sure that you really get a feel for that in when Monolith hits. Now, I should have mentioned that you should try your main hero, your most comfortable heroes, with their default decks. Cards are completely changing, scaling's completely changing, abilities are completely changing, at least their cooldowns anyways, and obviously their numbers associated with it. So try their default deck, try what it feels like to play that hero as Epic has deemed it normal, has deemed it proper, etc., etc. With that said, try out all the heroes. Try every hero in solo versus AI, maybe even co-op versus AI if you want a little bit more fun, so that you can get a feel for those fundamental changes with each hero, so that you don't come up against a hero that really has completely changed in PvP and get totally creamed. Right? Try out all the heroes with their default decks so you understand how each hero plays, so that you can then counter them when you meet them on the battlefield. That is all that you should do here in solo versus AI. You are getting a feel. You are doing your recce. You're doing your reconnaissance on the map, on the heroes, getting a feel so that you can, when you do go into PvP, you have that extra little edge. You have that really strong feeling of exactly what the game has become. Now, it's on to the big things here. Study your new collection. Or sorry, once you've done that solo versus AI, go out and study your new collection of cards that have completely changed. They have completely changed. They are going away from energy damage and physical damage now just to power. And that's it. There's no more energy barrier. There's no more physical armor. It's just ability armor and basic attack armor, basic armor, I think they're calling it. So it's completely changed, and you're going to need to study your new collection of cards. Obviously, they have to remove some, they have to amalgamate some, because some are kind of the polar opposites of each other, and since they're now just getting rid of that, well, they're going to have 2 redundant cards, so they have to get rid of one, I'm assuming, so that you have 1 that serves a purpose and not 2 that serve the same purpose, right? So they're probably completely changing all the cards, so you're going to have to study your new collection. And look for any deficiencies. With that said, I foresee that the card changes are going to be actually really good for everybody. For example, I don't have Amp Crystal. It gives 1 CP of damage, of energy damage, and 3 CP of mana. I don't have that card. But what I do have is the physical damage. I do have the physical damage equivalent, whatever that one's called. I happen to forget. That one gives 1 point of physical damage, but 3 points of mana. So once they amalgamate them, there is no such thing as energy damage and physical damage anymore. So I hope that I'm going to have the power, the 1 CP of power card, and the 3 CP of mana that goes along with it. So hopefully you now are going to have actually more cards, quote, than before. I foresee that these card changes are going to be really good for everyone, to be honest with you. You're going to actually have more cards than you will later. At least I hope. That's what I think. If I think that that's what's happening, this is what I foresee. The card changes will actually be really good for everybody. Now, once you have studied these cards and know the differences and know what your deficiencies are, you're going to have to adjust your decks accordingly, obviously. Now, that's going to be really hard, but what you've done already, though, is you've gone into Solarverse AI games. So you're going to have to adjust your decks according to the things you learned in the AI games, and then, of course, try to foresee the PvP differences. Hopefully the bots are much better in Monolith, for whatever reason, and I hope that you're going to be able to better foresee the PvP. But definitely go into Solarverse AI. That's definitely what you have to do. There's really no way about it. You're going to have to adjust your decks according to the things you learned in AI games. Really shouldn't be that difficult. Heroes are going to change. Your decks are definitely going to have to change. So this next one is then, now that you've adjusted your decks, try your build out. Try your builds, multiple builds. Try your builds out in AI games until you have tweaked them so that they match your new playstyle objectives. It's up to you if you feel appropriate to go into PvP. I foresee a lot of, I don't know, higher tier players, people that maybe just get a feel for the changes much quicker than maybe a lot of others, maybe going into PvP at this point. But I would suggest try your builds out in AI games first, definitely at this point, co-op versus AI, until you have tweaked them, until they match your new playstyle and objectives. Remember, the playstyles are going to change. Cooldowns are changing, ability damages are changing, your cards are changing, scaling is going to be changing. Your playstyle with your hero is going to change. And along with that, like we said earlier, they're making the meta more particular. Your objectives that you are trying to accomplish with heroes and their various their various purposes in a match, you're going to have to change to match the playstyle and your new objectives that you have to accomplish because you are a particular hero in a particular role. Now, this next one here is take it easy, okay? Take it easy in PvP matches and be positive and receptive to changes, errors, frustrations, and annoyances. If you've watched me stream the past while here with all these crazy builds that we're just doing for fun before Monolith changes, I have problems. My life is crazy. I'm competitive at heart. I have issues. I do. I feel like I have anger issues. But you're gonna have to try. This is going to be a true test of the community coming together to accept these changes, to establish a new meta, a new way of doing things in this game. It's going to be hard. So take it easy. Try. You can try your hardest, but remember, go into each game going, this is basically one gigantic experiment. And you can't really expect anything for the next while. For this next month, don't expect anything. Take it easy in PvP matches. And guys, I say it every video. Be positive and optimistic and especially receptive. Okay? Be receptive to these changes and errors and frustrations that you're going to have. People will make errors. okay? You are going to get frustrated at people and yourself not doing the quote right thing, but I mean, remember, right is unfortunately kind of subjective. You know, they are making the meta more particular, so you are going to have more objective kind of points and concepts to actually rely on. But remember, everything's going to be changing. So be positive, be receptive, be a positive community member. If you get if you just become an asshole, there's no scenario on this planet that being an asshole is appropriate. None. Okay? You're an asshole. Just take a break. Go back. Try to think about how this game is changing and what is actually the best way to go about it. And that is just being positive and receptive. My apologies for my curses, but hey, it's really bad when you get really salty people, and it really brings down everything in the game. And this last one, guys, it's basically the same thing. Basically the same thing, but understand that it will take time to get used to the new game and how everything works. It is going to take time. I did say that earlier, but I just want to reiterate that. It's going to take time to get used to this new game and how everything works. Don't expect things to be, you know, nice and all hunky-dory in a week. It's going to take a month. It's going to take 2 months. Epic's probably going to have to make some hot fixes. There's going to definitely be a patch that that changes maybe quite a few things. That's okay. Things are changing, and it's going to take time. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'll show you here the end of this game. This is kind of the beginning of the end here with our Bruiser Kalari. Boy, did it work. It's been really a process here of trying out these crazy, wacky builds, and boy, do they work. So just to reiterate, ladies and gentlemen, it's going to be a huge transition. You're going to really need to take time, study, get used to it, get a feel for it, because really that's what it all comes down to. Before you play, change your decks. You have to read up. Read the blog post. Read what has changed. Try to make your own implications. Understand the key implications, though, of the changes, so that I foresee anyways. So these are some things that I foresee. No travel mode means ranged heroes will have an easier time. Okay, so they'll be able to build and deal more damage. You're going to need wards. Oh my god, you're going to need wards. Movement cards and abilities will be much more effective and deadly. You will also, though, need to be more particular with when you use them. They are way valuable. Don't throw them away. Fighters, and especially tanks, might be keeping this health and armor meta. I'm not sure. I kind of see it staying, just because they're going to have a harder time catching up to ranged heroes. There's no travel mode. Yes, Blink Charms and Blink Shot is going to be a much more used thing now, probably, I'm going to be assuming here. But I think that health and armor meta are going to stay for fighters, and especially tanks. Roles are going to be much more important. They're designing the map, the buffs, gameplay, everything, so that these roles are more important. You're going to have to fulfill these roles and understand them in order to be very much effective. You're really going to have to understand them in order to be effective. They're making the meta and the strategy of this map more particular on what I've been saying, so you can't really do anything you want. You're going to have to study, do very particular things. Now, I think the very first thing that you should, after you read up, is definitely go solo versus AI and do a number of things. Go down each lane and study the terrain between these lanes. Get to know where possible gank opportunities lie, both for you and against you. Go through the jungle and do the same. Study it. Get a feel for the fundamental changes. Try all the heroes out with their default decks, and try, of course, your main out with a few of their default decks, going about and trying it. Once you have done that solo versus AI, getting a feeling for the map and kind of the play style, study your new collection of cards. Cards are completely changing. Look for any deficiencies. I don't think you'll actually have that many, to be honest with you, but you will have very different cards. So study your cards and see what you have and what you don't have. Adjust your decks accordingly to the things you learned while you were in your AI games. You're going to be studying them, so you have some things that you will have learned. Try your build, adjust your deck, according to the things you learned in AA games, and try to foresee the PvP differences. You're smart. You'll probably figure out what does and doesn't work in a PvP game versus a AI game. So try to adjust your decks accordingly. Try your builds out in AI games until you have tweaked them so that they match your new playstyle and objectives. And finally, take it easy. Take time. Understand that it's going to be a long process. Everybody's going to get used to it. Everybody's on the same playing field. Take it easy in PvP matches. Be positive, optimistic, and receptive to changes, errors, frustrations, and annoyances. Guys, it's going to happen. You're going to get annoyed. You're going to be frustrated. That's okay. Alright? So there you guys go. That's the guide. This is exactly what I'm going to do. I'm going to make videos about it. So I'm going to make videos about going down the lanes, studying the lanes, talking about the lanes. I'm going to make videos about going into the jungle, studying the jungle. Where's a good ward points? What are the different camps do? What's that new harvester thingamajigger whatever? What does it do? I'm going to do this myself. I'm going to maybe make a video about how my biggest decks, or kind of the general trends on how the decks changed. What does work, what doesn't work. Obviously Blink Charm and Blink Shot and all those movement cards are going to be much more valuable now, but I'm gonna do that. So I hope that this helps. I hope that this presents to you some things that make sense in how it would help you transition, and please go ahead, use these for yourself. Please like this video if you like it, dislike it, share it with the community. Of course, subscribe if you like this content, if you found it useful, I don't know, enjoyed my voice, whatever. Please subscribe so I can do it for you later. Like always, please consider supporting the channel with the various methods up there. And of course, till next time, stay optimistic and positive.